Hey guys, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about duality and the difference between oneness or non-duality and duality. And this is my take on this topic, and it's both like a channeling from plant medicine, where I saw how the universe was built, like anything was built from the duality, and that's creation. The first duality is, I would say, it's emptiness and form. How they say it in Buddhism is emptiness versus form, right? And the way that happens is that the source, what we are, the being, it wants to create and experience and explore. It's one and the same thing. Like it wants to see what it can become. It wants to create itself in a sense. But to do that, it has to move a step away from itself with illusion. It has to go into form by forgetting what it already is. And to go into form, it can become anything, right? There's no limits. Anything can really exist. But to do that, there's a certain illusion to believe that you are the form. So when we wake up from the form and remember that we are the formless, right? But we are also the form. We're both, right? So the illusion disappears and we realize that we are everything. And at least this is what I saw. And it deeply resonates with me. And now I also see strong glimpses of non-duality, even though I know there are deeper stages of realization that others explore and explain. The thing is that nothing can exist without an opposite. Nothing can exist without a duality. So there's no young without old. There's no good without bad. There's no rich without poor. You know, all of these, it's like a big matrix of experiences. And all the experiences that we can go through and experience as human beings, it exists on a spectrum between certain dualities. So the dualities is experience, and we can wake up from that. And that is waking up from the content of experience and realize that everything is just appearance. It's not the stories that the dualities tell are appearances. And we can wake up from the stories of the mind where we can experience, we can see the duality, but the oneness shines through the duality. I don't know if that made sense, but the content of experience is everything. It's what we see, it's what we hear, it's what we taste and smell and touch and feel. And it's also what we think. And when we wake up, we literally wake up from the dream of the mind. The mind dreams about the personality, which is just content. It's a form that we have put on. And the mind also dreams about time and others. And the mind creates an illusion of a world out there, right? So when we wake up, at least when I woke up, and I see this in many others as well, we tend to go through a phase of integration. And it never really ends, I believe. I don't know. I don't think it ends. But it's definitely a phase of shadow work where the mind is being integrated, if that makes sense. So we have an initial awakening where we wake up from thoughts, some way or another. I say wake up from thoughts, but it's what is described as Kensho in Zen. Waking up to your true nature. And the next thing that happens is that the ego usually comes back, at least it did for me, and it feels really uncomfortable. What used to feel normal now feels uncomfortable. But I'm still stuck in duality. I'm still in duality, good and bad, and I'm seeking answers. For example, I remember I was seeking answer and looking into things that how to create a better world. Like we have to create a better world, right? We have to. And I believed in the shift, like the fifth dimensional shift and the new age world. I'm not saying that's wrong or bad, and of course I resonate with it still, but it's still a story. It's still another matrix. It's a spiritual matrix of a bunch of ideas and stories about what reality really is, and it's not the absolute truth, which cannot be understood with the mind. So the spiritual matrix is something that the mind creates to survive a little longer, or to stay in charge, or to try to solve and fix this, But this is something that the mind can't fix. It's something that we wake up to, and something that is just living truth. Like, you will just know. You can't really put it in a box or label it. You can try, but it will never really, you won't find anything there, because wherever you go, there you are. And there's content of experience. The content of experience is always changing, which makes us believe that there's time. And the thing is that we start to see more and more, at least I started to see more and more, that, my personal will and my opinion and my chase for a better world is actually a dualistic chase. It's actually, the moment I try to make better, utopia, is actually the moment I believe in the opposite, because one cannot exist without the other. That's why we see people with great visions, great ideas that they think are great and is going to create a utopian world, ends up creating massive destruction instead. So both dualities, good and bad, are sacred. Both good and bad is sacred, because one cannot exist without the other. We cannot know what good is without having the experience of bad, right? And I speak about this a lot, and I try to, in this shadow work phase, I try to appreciate and show gratitude and embody the pain and the darkness, because trying to push it away or try to achieve the opposite is the same as pushing it away. And that's when we're in the same cycle, pushing and pulling on reality and rejecting parts of reality, which is essentially us, right? So I guess more and more, I'm losing preferences about how life has to be. Of course, there's things in me that is still very strong. I want that, or I need that, right? Which I think is also almost biological, or it's generational in a sense, that it's like strong human conditioning. That's for all of us. For example, we need to survive, right? So we want money. That's the thing. We can't survive without. So there's a preference, rather have more than less, right? That's just something that is, it's still there, but I can still observe it, and I can be curious about lack. I can still be curious about lack. How interesting to experience lack. So this is how the source or the universe experiences itself. It's curious about both polarities, about both. It's curious about relationship, and it's curious about loneliness or aloneness, right? It's curious about others and self. It's curious about young and old. It's curious about sickness even, because it understands health. So this is how we move through life, and we experience different dualities that make us understand more about what we are. And the more, true liberation is when you don't need reality to be a certain way. You can actually just embrace and fall into the natural flow of life and what naturally is, which is just appearances anyway. And the way to do that is to, in my experience, is to separate or differentiate thoughts and reality. And just be curious about the direct experience here and now. And I do have a free masterclass in the link in the description below, if you want to learn how to see through this, what's in my 5 senses and what are thoughts. And you can watch it in the link in the description below for free. And I'm also starting up with meditations on Patreon, and you're welcome to join that. And I'll make sure to link in the description below. And until next time, much love and namaste.